Welcome to today's podcast, for lack of a better word. I'm Lanessa Keene, and I'm from Lee Deadwood High School. I teach careers, computers, and tourism classes at the high school. I'm also our CTE director up there, and I'm also the SDACTE president for this year.
All right. I am Lori Christensen. I teach at Madison High School. I teach health science and am the CTE director there. And I am the president-elect.
I'm Annika Russell-Mankey, and I teach at Mitchell Technical College in the Accounting and Business Management program, and am the program director there. I'm also on the national board for ACTE as the business VP and the post-secondary rep on the South Dakota ACTE board.
Okay, so we're going to keep this short and sweet. We're hoping it's only about 15 minutes long, but we're going to just talk about ACTE CareerTech Vision in our national conference, because that's right around the corner. So we wanted to start out with is some of the visions that we've attended and the highlights that we had. So for me personally, I've attended 5 different national conferences. My very first one was in Atlanta, Georgia in 2012. And then I kind of went on a running streak with Vegas in 2016, Nashville in 2017, San Antonio in 2018, and last year, Anaheim in 2019. I, of course, am going to attend this year, 2020, virtually, which was supposed to take place, I believe, in Nashville, correct? Yep. So those are the visions that I've attended. And honestly, out of all those visions, they all provided really good sessions and some great breakout presenters and some information that I could take back to my classroom right away. But my favorite one was probably Atlanta, Georgia first, only because it was my very first national conference. And I was so blown away by all of the information and the people that I met and the activities that I got to participate in. It was almost overwhelming, but in a really good way. And then aside from that, since I've had a chance to go to so many different visions, San Antonio was probably my second favorite because it really offered an opportunity for some really good breakouts. I had an opportunity to meet some and network with some other people in my area from other regions, not just from South Dakota or the Midwest, but all over. And just for the extra stuff, the fun stuff that San Antonio had to offer, because you do get some downtime and you get to go sightseeing, you get to kind of partake in some of the culture and the festivities that are going on in that town. So those are some of my favorite visions that I've attended.
Okay, well, I'll go next. I have attended 6 different visions, and how come I don't go to, do I blow up to your guys' screen when we're talking? Do
No.
I get big?
No.
I don't know why that is. That's okay. I don't need to be on the big screen. Anyway, so I've attended 6. My first one I attended was 2007 in Las Vegas, and I actually attended that through the National Association of Ag Educators, which is a concurrent conference with ACTE, as part of the awards program. So I was a regional awards winner, our 6-state region for the Ag Teachers Association. And so I got an all-expense paid trip for me and a guest to go to Vegas, and kind of got wined and dined at that one. So that was a really fun conference, just simply because, you know, you were treated as a special guest at that conference. And that was my first one. So that was a real hook for me, obviously. And then after that, then I ran for an officer position of the Ag Division. So then I attended conference the next year in Charlotte. And then I have also attended conference in 2015 in New Orleans because South Dakota Ag Teacher was the president of the Ag Division at that time, the National Ag Division. So I went in support of him. And then in 2016, I went to Las Vegas again. And then 2019 in Anaheim, and this year virtually. So this will be my 6th conference. As far as favorites, highlights go, Las Vegas always puts on a great conference. Typically, it's held in conjunction with the National Finals Rodeo. So they always kind of tie in some of that kind of stuff. And then in the evenings when you have downtime, you can go to the rodeo if you want. You can go to They have the big cowboy Christmas, some of that kind of stuff on your own time. But Vegas just in general puts on a great conference. So I really enjoy going there. I really enjoyed going to New Orleans too, for the same reason as Vegas, because New Orleans is just a fun place to go. So there's lots to do when you have your downtime. As far as professional development goes, I haven't been to a conference where I thought the professional development was poor. I thought that the professional development that they do is great at every conference, and I've already been looking at virtual across like 3 or 4 different divisions of workshops to attend. I'm looking at the ag, the health science, the admin, new and emerging services, all of those, and finding just tons of workshops that I'm sure I won't be able to fit them all in, but tons of things. And then, they have the expo where you can find interesting stuff. So I think just every place puts on a great conference. And really, if you are thinking about going to a national conference, look at where it's at and see about, do you think it'd be fun to travel to that location? Because that's, just as much fun as the actual conference is traveling with your colleagues and your friends and going and partaking in those kind of things professionally and personally.
Yeah, and you totally hit on something I forgot about, Lori. For example, you mentioned new and emerging related services. So South Dakota, because we're so small, we have, limited divisions, and some of our divisions are even really limited in number because we're just so small. But Vision in our national association is so much bigger than that. And that was one of the things that I really liked about going to Vision is I get to be a part of probably the division that I more really identify with, because I do teach career classes and career exploration. Is that an administrative division that I fall in? Is that business education division that I fall in? Because I also teach computers. So is that the IT division that I fall in, which in South Dakota, that's all one. But nationally, it's not. And so when I go to the national conference, I like to hit those division meetings, like the new and related services and the career division that they have specifically for that, because that really 100% pertains to what I'm doing. And that I think is a huge benefit to all of the national conferences is I can find exactly what I need for my classes at my school. And that's what I love.
And that's what I was going to kind of say. There's usually over 300 sessions, and it doesn't matter which sessions you go to. You can go to any of them if you want. So that's the nice part is you can really get something that you need or can use right away. Yep.
Absolutely. And so let's go into some of the benefits. And we kind of started talking about that.
Well, Vanessa or Annika hasn't talked about where she's going.
Oh, yeah. Annika, you tell us where you've been.
Sorry. My very first conference I ever went to was in 2005. It was supposed to be in New Orleans, but Katrina hit, so they moved it to Kansas City. And I just remember being awestruck by it, by the number of people that were teaching the same things we were teaching, all the different types of sessions that were going on, and just to see like where we were as a state. Like I couldn't believe like some of the stuff we were doing as a state that other places weren't doing, especially back then technology wise was a huge thing. So that kind of like got me linked in. And I pretty much have attended all of them, but 2 since then. I had a couple when I had mono, and I missed like Charlotte, and one of the biggest ones I missed also. But I think one of my favorites is the Georgia or also the St. Louis one. The St. Louis one was a little bit different designed. It seemed like it was a little bit smaller, but the sessions were amazing and their tours were amazing. And a lot of divisions did separate tours at that point in time too. So it was just a lot of variety of different things. But they're all good. I've never really had one where I walked away and like, oh, that was useless to go to. Some of the keynote speakers are amazing. I've heard some amazing stories from the keynote speakers. I use some of the examples from those keynote speakers in my classes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is another huge benefit of it, is being able to walk away with that knowledge that you can use or just things that you have. It's just, amazing. And all the people from all over that you get to talk to and see what they're doing.
I kind of wanted to hit back on that too after you talked about that, Annika. I remember my first year when I went as part of the awards program and meeting ag teachers from like Bronx, New York that are having like inner city urban ag programs. And it was just amazing to me, the kind of stuff they were doing. And it's like, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
this is what's happening in teaching in our whole United States. So that was the amazing thing, is you make these connections with these people from all over the US and see what they're doing and what are they doing that you can bring back and use in your programs.
Yep, absolutely. I totally remember that when I was, I think, in Vegas, because there was a session that I went to, and I specifically remember Vegas. The sessions that I ended up going to had a huge emphasis on growing middle school CTE rather than just focusing on secondary and post-secondary. Because I remember sitting in some of those conferences and I just thought, man, that is something that we need to bring back here. We really should be focusing on that too. And of course, since then, oddly enough, we locally started to make some changes, and I proposed trying to teach a different class with my superintendent and the middle school principal. And so now that's one of the things that we actually have in our middle school as an elective, is we have a career exploration class focusing exactly on that, because that was one of my big takeaways when I was in Vegas that year. Middle school was a huge theme. And it's interesting how each year they kind of seem to fall into these general themes that I don't think are purposeful, but just kind of happen. And then you go in and you come back and you think, oh, that's definitely something that I want to take back, or pieces of that I want to take back to my school or my community. And I want to use that. And so there's always something, like you said, Lori, it's amazing what other teachers are doing in other places, how they're yet so different, but exactly the same as us. It's pretty awesome to see that.
Well, and with that, you said you feel like sometimes there's a theme that's non-intentional. And I think that theme could have been different for you than it is for me. It's about kind of what you're looking for when you go there.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's exactly what you find. You know, like if you have a year where I really need some help with my internship program, then that's probably your theme that year. And you can find a ton of stuff on that.
That's exactly.
Fall into it.
Yes. There's always information that you can find. That's exactly what your theme that for that year is probably what you're looking for. And so that's for me, the biggest benefit is I am always going to find what I'm looking for, and maybe not always stuff that I'm looking for. It just happens to fall in front of me. And when I walk in, I come back out and think, man, I am so glad I went to that session. That was awesome.
Yeah. Like, you're not for sure at some sessions, of course, you're like, I don't know what I'm going to get out of this. This title sounds interesting. This description sounds interesting. And then you walk out and you're like, whoa, that is exactly what I needed. So it's always kind of cool to see that. But yeah, you always can find things. And again, what I love about that is that, you know, nationally we do have 12 different divisions right now. There'll probably be 13 next year, because workplace learning is growing and probably going to be their own division within a year. But that's the thing. I mean, there's 12 different divisions that you can actually get information from, and you don't have to be a member of that division to go to those sessions.
Right.
And that's the other nice thing, because so many of us do so many different things in our schools. Or you might see something that you're like, oh, this could help one of our teachers, or, you know, this could help our program grow better, you know, in a different area too. So that's the really cool part.
Absolutely. So let's go into what kind of a schedule would you expect to have to follow, or what kind of time off would you expect when you're looking at going to CareerTech Vision? Because that is the reality of it. We do have to request time off. Of course, most of us are, if not all of us, this is something that we need to pre-plan for, putting it into our Perkins budget that spring prior, so that we have our travel, our registration, our hotel, our meals all covered, so that we can pay for that. I know that's the only way I can go, is if I request Perkins funds, because my district can't pay for it. And then what kind of time off do I need? What is expected of me when I attend? So what kind of schedules do you guys have? Annika, what have you typically done?
I have typically flown out on Tuesdays. Partly it was when I first started, I was traveling with Charlotte Moling a lot because I was teaching Wessing Springs, and she had meetings and things on Wednesday, so we just flew out on Tuesday, or drove out on Tuesday when we went to Kansas City. But anyway, that was another story. And so the Wednesday is really a lot of the pre-sessions, or like the policy committee meetings. I was on the business division policy committee for 3 years, so I needed to be there for meetings on Wednesday. So typically I have flown out on Tuesday. Wednesday is kind of those pre-session meetings, kind of more of a relaxed day. You could do some sightseeing, and within that, Thursday is when the ACTE portion starts, and then it goes through Saturday about noon. I have flown home a lot on Sundays, sometimes just because if I had been a little bit more involved, it gave me Saturday afternoon to do something and kind of have fun and see something at conference. Like last year, as being a national officer, I was so busy that it wasn't until Saturday afternoon that I could actually really go and enjoy anything and do anything. So, but a lot of people fly back Saturday afternoon. And sometimes you just have to make sure you know when that ending session is. That session that's usually about 10 to 12 is the last closing session. Sometimes is some of the best stuff I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And so many people miss it because they're like, okay, I'm heading home, I'm doing this, or those kind of things. So that's kind of what I have done in the past. It kind of depends on the year, but usually trying to fly out Saturday afternoon or evening, or not Saturday, Tuesday afternoon or evening, and then coming home Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning.
Lori, what about you?
So the Ag division has been a little bit different. They actually start their conference a day earlier and then finish a day earlier. So if I'm participating in the Ag conference, I'll leave Tuesday and come back on Saturday. And most of the Ag teachers do, because typically that Sunday is when our fall leadership state conference starts. So you got to get back Saturday so that you can get your kids together Sunday and head to Pier for that. But if I'm doing ACTE, a lot of times I will wait then and fly out on Wednesday. But I still typically like to come home Saturday evening because I like to have that extra day at home, whether the FFA stuff's going on or not. So usually always come home on Saturday, usually leave on either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on which portion of conference I'm participating in. And I wanted to note, you said putting it in for Perkins. If you are an ACTE or a division officer with Ag, I don't know about the other divisions. Typically, your trip's paid for and your conference is paid for. Otherwise, you can put in through Perkins. And if you're not an officer, ACTE has stipends too, or SDACTE has stipends too that you can use to help with those expenses too. So.
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that, Lori, because we've had some teachers in our school that have taken advantage of those stipends, and we've had teachers from across the state take advantage of those stipends, and that really helps cut down on cost. And I've done the schedule 2 different ways. My very first year when I went to Atlanta, I was unfamiliar and didn't really know. So we flew in on Wednesday and got in really late Wednesday night. I remember it was fairly late. And so we had very little time to get together. And that was the year Annika and I roomed together, actually. And so we just kind of got in our room and then did a few things. I think South Dakota did their thing that night. I can't remember. And then we just hit the ground running Thursday morning. And then because I wasn't aware, and that's one thing you have to be careful of, is what time is your flight? And the ending session almost always ends at noon. So travel time. And so we ended up missing that closing session because our flight was booked at 1:00, and we didn't account for having to catch the bus to get to the airport to do check-in and all of that stuff. So I've gone in on Wednesday and flown home on Sunday so that we could have that Saturday afternoon kind of wind down time. But I've also, as an officer, have flown in on Tuesday and participated in leadership training and some of the pre-conference stuff. And it's not all day. It does allow for some time to get out and about. And then, of course, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, ending at noon. And then we've left Saturday evening before so that I can be home on Sunday, kind of wrap my head around finishing and then getting ready for my school week as well. So honestly, there's a couple different ways to do that. But by the end of the 4 days, you are so full of information that honestly, if there was a 5th day, I'm not sure we could make it.
Like you got to sit there and just like absorb it all and figure everything out that you learned.
Yeah, you just have to decide which 4 days are going to be best for you, honestly. And that's kind of how we've always looked at it when my team from Lee Deadwood High School is always gone. And I think that's a lot of people that do attend, which 4 days work best for them: Wednesday through Sunday, Tuesday through Saturday. And so that really just kind of works with that. And so I think we're really nearing in on our 15 minutes. So what I want to end up with is
Can I just add one more thing to the schedule?
Yeah.
I want to just make sure that people know that I know that we have all done this, the 3 of us, but we take our spouses and our families with us to conference. So that's a good thing to note, that, because you do have the downtime in the evenings. You're really busy during the day, but if you're going to Nashville, take your spouse with you. They can do stuff during the day, and then you can go out in the evenings together. And I know that all three of us have done that. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Yes, I totally.
Make sure people know that you can go with your colleagues, but you can also take your family too.
Yep. Yeah. And there have been plenty of people that I know that have taken their families. Yes. All three of us have done that before. And it does make it really enjoyable. And then you kind of get to know that personal side to the person that you work with, which is fun. Yep. And then also what's awesome about South Dakota Association for Career and Tech Ed is that we're called what is known as a unified state. That means your dues and your membership, which I know some of us think, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. But really you get a bang for your buck because you get reduced rates on all your registrations for conferences, whether it's local, our state conference, which will be in July, our regional conferences, which we just had a virtual region at the end of October. They're hoping to have face-to-face or a hybrid version in April in Lake Tahoe. So those count as all of the ACTE stuff. And of course, the national conference. We're a member of the national organization automatically because we're a unified state. And that really is a huge benefit because then we get that information from all of those organizations, our region and our national organization, to help support us and do what we need to do at the state level and the local level.
Yep, good.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything else that you want to add?
Go to national conference if you have never been.
Yes.
So, virtual vision this year is very different, obviously, but still going to have great PD. But the fun travel is not part of it, understandably. But
I do have to say,
national conference, go.
Yes. So even though this year is virtual, if national is going to be anything like Region 5 did their virtual conference, it will be awesome because I logged in only for one day for Region 5 and it was actually pretty phenomenal how they built it all together. It made it it was pretty easy to do. And I still got some really good stuff. And I got to do it wearing my pajama pants sitting on the sofa.
And our national virtual vision is coming up December 1st through the 4th. And we're kind of running it more Tuesday through Thursday this year just because it is virtual. And each day, different divisions have a focus. So I know business focuses on Monday and Tuesday, so most of our business sessions will be on Tuesday. So if you are a business teacher and you're like, I can't, take off the whole time or whatever, you could always log in on Monday or Tuesday and get our opening session. Every division is planning networking sessions that are sometimes in the evening or during the day to try to get people together in different things. They're doing fun stuff like, I know the health is like doing yoga one time or something, and we're doing bingo, and there's just a lot of different things on that. You can check that schedule out also. And so they're really trying to make it as interactive as we've had it. There are some live sessions, and then there are some pre-recorded sessions that you'll have, so there's a little bit of both. And then the best part is you can actually, go back and watch it for a year. So you have access to it for a year to be able to go back and catch those sessions maybe you didn't get to go to, or maybe you had to teach during the day and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to see it. Well, maybe you can go back that evening or that night or Christmas break or something. I don't know. But yeah, so we're excited about that. We're trying to make it as interactive and as good as it was as if we were there. So
right.
Awesome. All right. This was good. Thanks, ladies.
This was fun.